Hey you guys, welcome back to Vanna Reels. I am super excited about this review today because I'm reviewing Soul. I don't know if many of you have caught it yet. You probably did though. This came out on Disney Plus, I believe on Christmas Day, as well as some other movies that came on other streaming services. But Soul is the first Pixar film that has a black main character. And when I tell you, it made me so excited because, you know, at first sometimes you're kind of a little nervous about how they're going to do it and how they're going to portray it. But the fact that they really, I know I'm jumping into this fast, but the way that they portrayed things in the black community and things that we have seen in our lifetimes, like through our houses, places we go to, you know, like men go to the barbershop, things like that, the music, everything was truly tailored to us. And I really want to give Pixar a big props for this because, you know, everybody involved. I will list below all the people involved because I feel like this movie was done the right way. It was done properly, and the message behind it was amazing. I watched this twice, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I did cry the first time because I wasn't expecting to cry, but I ended up crying because it made me really realize I have a habit of, you know, kind of getting away from just living my life and enjoying it. And the people who know me, I've been working on that recently to make sure I'm just enjoying myself and just living my life as I would like to. So I feel like this movie came out at a great time. And I also felt like this movie is a great conversational starter for parents who may have a hard time explaining life after death to children. I think Pixar did a great job, you know, opening that conversation in the home. Like, you know, I feel like some movies are a great way if your kids are kind of curious about, you know, well, like what happens after, you know, kids are always curious and sometimes you're like not ready for the conversation. But I feel like them utilizing the great beyond and the great before as a way to describe life after death, I feel like that was a great opener. Especially, it's also a way that isn't super religious either, because you get that everybody comes from different religious backgrounds. Everybody doesn't believe in the same thing. So it opens the floor up for different families and multiple religions to have that conversation. So I really appreciated that about the film. But, you know, this was a star-studded cast. I'm trying to not read off names anymore because I hate butchering names. But I just would like to I wanted to put these in my review because they had a great star cast. Okay, so we had Jamie Foxx, we had Tina Fey, we had Phylicia Rashad. Like, I love me some Phylicia Rashad, okay? Questlove, Angela Bassett, Donnell Rawlings, and then it was somebody I'm missing, but I'm just gonna name those all because I don't want to miss anybody or misspeak about any names. But I mean, literally star-studded cast. And then just small, you know, first small details like them having the I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a part where in his mother's knitting shop, her seamstress shop, there's a tin can, like the cookie tin can. And most people in black families know that once you're done with those cookies, it's usually utilized for like sewing supplies. Like your grandmothers kept their sewing supplies in those tin cans. So just details like that. And I didn't notice it in the first time I watched it. I noticed it after people were pointing it out on Twitter. And then I watched it again and I said, oh my gosh, like they have done such a great job with the details. And it's also really cool because how well the CGI is done and just the movement of clothing, the detail in the streets. I mean, everything. Like, Pixar has come so far from like us seeing like Toy Story back in the late 90s when I was a kid to now seeing their films. I'm always amazed every time, even in between when Finding Nemo came out. The progression from Toy Story to Finding Nemo and then now Finding Nemo to Soul, it literally, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in the next 5 to 10 years, like what they're already working on now to put out then. I mean, it's amazing, it's jaw-dropping, and I know that everybody doesn't care about things like that, but for a person like me, I love details in movies. And just for this to be the first black Pixar like main character film that portrays a life of a black man, relationship with his mom, you know, that was important for him. The barbershop scene showing that we know that black men love to go to their barbershop and they don't leave their barbers. Black men have relationships with their barbers. So like, just including little things like that, I really appreciate it, because that means everybody on the team took the time to do the research, to put into just those small intricate details, to take the story a step further. And then just going into the plot, how they show how, you know, so Joe ends up passing away. He falls into a little what do they call it? Little sewage holes, and he ends up passing away. But he's not ready to go to the great beyond, because he had just got his big break from being a part-time musician teacher to finally playing for a major jazz player on her band. This was his moment. So he felt like, I'm not ready to go. So, you know, he ends up trying to run back, trying to figure out, how do I get back to Earth? And he ends up in the great before. So then that's where they do the breakdown of how people get their personalities, how people meet their soulmates, and just different things. I mean, a way to think about, it's such a cool way to think about those things. Like, you don't think about, oh, that's how I got my personality. I mean, granted, that's just a, you know, illusion, and it's a fantasy of it, but it's a great way to think about it. And it's a great way for kids to understand personality traits, understand soulmates, understand life in general. And then also for adults, it's a great way for us to say to ourselves, like, you have to, sometimes we're always on the go, we're always doing this, we're always working, we're always like, oh, I gotta make my next dollar, I gotta do this, I gotta survive. But sometimes we forget that we need to live. We need to stop and take a moment and enjoy what we got going on, especially during a time like this. I say personally for myself, during 2020, I did a lot of forgetting sometimes that I just need to live. Like, you know, the situation I'm in currently, I may not like it, but you know what, at least I'm breathing, at least I have a roof over my head, at least I have food in my fridge. Like, just remembering those small things that are so important that we forget day to day. So great job. And for me, I know y'all could probably already tell from my details that Soul is getting a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't have any complaints about Soul. I recommend people watching it. I recommend people with children to watch it, because if I watched this with my parents when I was younger and they felt like that was a great way to explain life after death for me, I would have understood it. You know what I mean? Granted, you know what I mean, parents had to choose other ways to explain it then, but this, now having this opportunity to do that, and I'm just glad that kids now are getting to see themselves more on TV. Like, being a black kid and watching Disney movies and Pixar movies at a young age, we didn't have as many options as these kids do now. And I love that they have it. I love that they're seeing themselves on TV, in movies, in film. They're seeing themselves at younger ages, going up into adulthood. They're seeing it more. I love that for us, and I want it to continue, and I hope it does. But for me, overall rating, 10 out of 10. This is on my must-watch list. This is on my must-buy it. If you are a person that still buys DVDs, I suggest you buying it. I'm probably not going to buy a DVD of this, because now that they have Disney Plus, I don't really feel the need to keep buying movies like that. But, you know, definitely recommend watching this movie. And I hope I didn't give away too many details of the movie. I tried not to, because I really want y'all to go see this if you haven't. And yeah, holla at your girl. Vanna Reels is back, baby.